Hi guys, good morning. Just a moment, I'll check if I'm live. Okay, I think I'm live. So today's lesson is going to be about material imbalances, and it is a really interesting topic because you get to learn about the main concept of chess. Because like in war, if one strong piece is fighting against two not so strong pieces, then it can manage to win, right? So material is really important in chess. Hello Bimba, hello Webov, hello Einstein. Yes, I remember you. So today it's about material imbalances, and we'll see a few games. I'll show you two of my games, and then we'll see a few grandmaster games. But before that, let me just tell you about the subscription. So as you can see on the screen, till 5th of September you will have a discount. You can get the first month at just rupees 99 instead of 1500 if you use my code Parnali 16. So do subscribe guys if you haven't already. And also, what do you think when I say what is equivalent to a rook? Like in your mind, if I ask you what can be equivalent to a rook? Okay, so I'll just tell you. Rook can be, yeah, you're right, Bimba. Two pieces are 6 points technically, so you need a rook and a pawn. So that is the reason you can have a bishop. So initially, this is just off concept, but initially, the bishop was valued long back. The bishop was valued at 4 points because it could travel almost like the rook and it could go to long distances, while knight was just given 2 points initially. But they changed it because they realized that bishop goes just on one color, so that is one disadvantage, and that's why bishop was valued at 3 points instead of 4, and knight was valued at 3 points because it can go to both colors. So I'm just telling you about pieces because that way you will know how to calculate, like if you're giving a sacrifice or if you're giving up an exchange, then how should you think while doing that. So this was my game against Tanya Sachdev. I was white here and it was played in Commonwealth 2017. d4. I think I'll just rush through the opening because it is not really that important. I'll come to the position in fact. So this was played. I'm just going to rush through because again it's normal theory. Okay, so here I played h3 because I prepared something special for her. Like I thought she will be slightly confused, but she wasn't. She played well. Hello. So right now in this opening, let me just tell you, black's main idea is to play this and have this majority right here, and white's idea is to play in the center or have this break. So that is the main purpose and main idea for both the players here. Rook b8, so she's trying to do that. I prevented it. Knight e5, and now I played knight b6. I think I could have played knight e3, but I played knight b6 anyway to prevent anything that could happen on the b file. This bishop is not really bad because it is supporting an important pawn right now, and it will be really useful if I get this break at any point. This bishop will be the most active piece on the board because it will directly target this point. So it is not a bad bishop, and also it protects the king in a way. So usually fianchetto bishops are not that bad. Even if you see in King's Indian, the bishop on g7 is usually locked, but if it's opened, then it's a monster. So same goes for this bishop right here. Bishop d7 was played. So now she's trying to do the same thing with the bishop here and attack on this. So when f5 is played, there is no bishop g4 to attack e2. So bishop d7 and bishop b5 is the usual maneuver. I played e4. And now I was hoping she captures, but obviously she won't, and if she captures, then d6 pawn is really going to be weak. Also I'll get f4 and lot of attack, and I have play in the center. Again, I'll come back with the knight, so I have a lot of things happening here. And f6, she played an f6, which is actually a good move because she's keeping the tension in the center. She's not releasing this pressure here. Sorry for the voice, guys, I'm slightly unwell. Okay, so I played bishop g5 and I realized this is probably wrong. Can you tell me why is it wrong? Am I audible, guys? Okay, so bishop here is not protected, and she can take advantage of this by playing this move. And I underestimated the attack here. So this would have been possible because h into g4, and she can just take here. My king is slightly weak, and she has this h file to attack. So that was the problem. Okay, thank you, Bimba. So she could have played this. Even though I can take here, she can just sacrifice a piece and go for this. It's slightly difficult to calculate because it looks as if the king is escaping, but it's not. And you just play this move here, just one waiting move, or you can play queen h6 and then threaten here. Also possible is this move. For instance, if I don't capture on d7 and I play okay, so this happens, knight g4, king g1. Hello Himanshu, sorry about the voice, guys, I'm slightly unwell. So queen h6 here, and now rook e1, for instance, bishop d4. f2 can be a bit of problem for me, and if I play rook e2, then queen h2. So she has a lot of play just for the piece, and also this knight is not really coming out very quickly. Sorry about the lag, guys. So bishop into f6 and knight into d7. So I'm just exchanging pieces because I realized that this bishop can be really strong now, so it's better if I just quickly exchange pieces and do something about this pawn here. And it wasn't a good decision actually, but it worked. So I captured on ef5 and queen into f5. Can you tell me what the move should be here? It's a very important move. Am I audible, guys? So the game is going to be really interesting now. There is one important move here. So what is black's threat here? What is black planning to do? So there are plenty of moves. One is knight g5 attacking here. One can be h5, h4 doing something about this pawn here. Maybe bishop e5 and some attack here. Bishop d4 can be one move. Knight e5 can be one move. So yeah, there are a lot of possibilities for black here, and there is one piece in the position that is not at all active, which is that rook, or is this rook or the rook on f1. There is one rook which is not at all active, and we've learned this before, guys. Okay, I'll just tell you the move. Rook a4 is the move. Ojan, bishop e4, then again we would have material imbalance, because we would have lost two pieces against a rook. So right now I'm a point down, or a pawn down, because I don't have a pawn. And if you count the pieces, she has this pawn and I have this pawn. So all the other pawns are on the same rank, so you can calculate it very quickly. So this is not the move, but okay, I wanted to play something like this, and that's the reason I played rook a4. Also, rook a4 has a hidden agenda. So one is to play rook g4 and also stop h4, h5, h4. Also one is to play bishop e4, and the main purpose was to sacrifice. So my opponent played bishop d4 here, and I just took. And she was taken by surprise here, because she wasn't expecting this move, and it looked as if nothing's happening here. But to be honest, how I calculated it was that this knight will be really strong if it is placed on b6 or e6. The bishop can go to e6 at some point, and also this bishop was pretty strong, so, and this rook was not doing much, so it was a good exchange. What do you think, guys? Is it a good exchange? I think everyone has just woken up. Okay, so queen e5 was played, and she just wanted to go and exchange pieces, because obviously she has a rook against the bishop. So if pieces are exchanged, then she will have a better position. Okay, great news, guys. It says sporting events are now allowed in India up to 100 people. So a great news, definitely. Queen b4, knight h6, hello Kanolapa. So knight h6, I think she just wanted to play knight here, and right now my plan was to play knight e4 and attack this pawn. So if you compare the pieces, right now you might feel that she has enough counterplay, but b7, d6, these two pawns are hanging, and if I manage to attack this pawn or get the knight to e6 or b6, I can collect a rook for that, because knight on b6 is really irritating for black, because it doesn't allow rook c8, and if she doesn't play rook c8, I'll play rook c1 and then rook c7. So we'll see what happens in the game. I played knight e4, and she played knight f5, protecting the d6 pawn, and now I played rook c1. So the point is, if she plays rook c8, I just take, and then I play queen b7. So now I have one pawn, and I'll collect this pawn also. So 2 pawns and a bishop equal a rook, because 3 plus 2 is 5, right? So this is enough compensation. Okay. So she played rook e7 in order to double here, or even I think she wanted to play something like this and attack on this square, or just to protect this. And rook c7. Hello Hemant. So she played rook e7. I'll just quickly update you guys. This is my game against Tanya Sajdev, and we played this in Commonwealth in 2017. So today's topic is going to be material imbalances. Black cannot really check right now. Like, he can try, he can play something like she can play something like h5 and h4, but my king is pretty safe. The bishop does a good job in protecting the king here, and the pawns are also doing fantastic. Also, the knight on e4 protects this g3 point. So right now there is no attack on the king for sure, but yes, I have given up an exchange, and right now it's bishop versus rook. So let's see what happens. So rook c4. Right now I'm 1 point short. I don't have one pawn. If I have one pawn, then it will be materially equal, but activity wise I am doing fine. Rook f8 was played, so she wants to attack here and have some threats, like something on this f2 pawn or g3 pawn. I played f4. So this is I don't know, when I played this I suddenly felt probably I've made a mistake, because my king will be really exposed if she manages to get the queen to e2, or in general a rook here. This bishop will be really exposed. Queen g7. And now can you tell me what should be the move here? What to play, guys? Can you spot the threat which black is giving right now, since I've played f4? Give me any random suggestions, guys. No problem. Just want to know what you guys are thinking. So use prophylaxis. Try to see what your opponent is doing and then prevent it. Okay. Alright. So here basically the threat is knight e3, and there is a fork here. Since I've played this, I've weakened this e3 square, and suddenly the knight wants to jump to this square. So how do you prevent it? Is there a way to improve the position as well as prevent knight e3? Okay, knight d6 is one move and g4 is one move. So the problem with knight d6 is I can still play this move, and if I lose this bishop, then it will be really difficult, because the king will be open and she will have threats like rook e2. So even here I'm not sure, something like rook e2 is possible, and she'll get entry into my position. Also the rook attacks b2 pawn, she can sacrifice here, so I didn't want that. So I'm not opening the e file right now. Yes, Rook c3 can be one move. You're right. g4, again knight e3. Bimba says queen h6. Alright. So, here I played this move, and you're right, queen h6 can be one threat, but right now the main threat is this move. So I have to prevent that, and I played queen b6. So right now I'm taking away rook d8, so she cannot protect this. This is not possible. She has to play something like rook d7 to protect this, or I'll win the pawn, and I'm also preventing e3. So this move continues the attack on this square as well as guards against this threat here. So now it's up to me if I have to play g4 or if I have to wait. So it is completely up to me now. She played h6. So it is some sort of zugzwang if you see. For example, if she moves the knight, then I'll win this pawn with the queen probably. So something like knight h6, I'll just go queen d6. Then if she moves the queen, for instance here, then I can even play knight g5 and knight e6. So my knight on e6 will be really strong. If she moves the rook here, then maybe I can play something like b4 and b5 and try to break here some things. So that was the plan behind queen b6, just keeping the tension and preventing any freeing moves by your opponent. So this is a freeing move because suddenly she can take this bishop, and the rook will be very active on e file because this won't be protected by a bishop. Okay, so here it is, this is a threat because the g2 bishop is the only piece protecting the king. I'm sorry guys. So this bishop is the only bishop that is protecting the king, and if I lose this bishop, then rook can enter because e4 is not protected, and rook e2 is really bad for white. So that is the purpose of taking the bishop with the knight. Queen b6, h6, knight into d6. Now I captured. Can you tell me what other move could have been played? There was one more move that was possible. Okay, so one more move that I thought during the game was this move. So my threat is to play g4, and the knight doesn't really have a good square. So I thought about this, but I was confused as to what to play, because g4, then she can again play knight h4. So I just wanted to prevent that, and queen f2 was another move that I considered. And I just captured here. I thought it's the right moment to capture. And she played rook e2. So as I mentioned, she took the first chance to play rook e2. Kanolappa g4 idea is correct, but knight h4 was the problem. So here g4, then knight h4. So again, I might have to exchange the bishop because this is under attack. So I cannot prevent both this from getting captured and this pawn. So idea of g4 is correct, and I captured. She played rook e2. So she took the first chance to play rook e2, and now I feel some threats on the b2 pawn as well as on the g2 square. So now knight e3 is also coming, and this was really risky, so I just captured here and takes. So right now materially, if you see, I have 2 pawns and a bishop, so it is equivalent to a rook, 5 points. But activity wise, I played rook c7, and activity wise, obviously her king is not that safe. Also, this b7 pawn is hanging, d5 pawn is really strong, bishop is it can be in danger, but right now it's fine. And now after g into f5, even her king is exposed, so I didn't mind playing that. She played rook f7 and I played d6. So now you see the power of the bishop finally. So it is not really a bad bishop, and suddenly it is really active, even though it's pinned right now. But this d6 pawn, it's very strong, and if I manage to push it one more square, then I can collect a rook for the pawn. So she played queen into b2, and here we were already down to around 8 or 9 minutes, both of us, so we didn't have much time. But it was again after 40 moves, we were supposed to get more time, so we were just rushing to the moves. Queen into b2, rook into b2, and now I played d7. So definitely I'll get this pawn, and probably even this. So right now I am doing fine, at least I have a draw. Rook d2, rook c8, rook f8, rook c7, and rook d8. So she just got the rook from f7 to d8, and I was just making moves so that I go to the 40th move, because I am on the defensive side and I need more time to think what to do with the bishop, because for her she'll just move the rook very quickly, and for me I have to think that if I make one wrong move, I can still be lost. So I had to take time here. Rook c8, she captured, and I captured b7 here. So the point is, had I captured this, and then this, she could have played this move, pushed me back, and then went back here, protecting this. Also, it will be really difficult to get the king very quickly. So I played this move first, takes here, and this could have been possible, but she played rook d2 first anyways. This is, and we almost reached the same position, but now f5 pawn is under attack as well. So both the pawns are under attack. While the bishop on b7 was there, then f5 pawn was not under attack. So a minute difference, but that really makes a lot of difference. And now I didn't capture, because if I did, then this, and she would have a passer, so I didn't want that. I wanted technically that I can exchange these two pawns, so if black manages to capture a5, then I at least get a6 pawn, because if she has a straight passed pawn, then I'll have to give up my bishop. The bishop is not that great alone at blocking, and with the rook on the opposite side, it's really bad. So I just got the king as close as possible. So king f2. I hope I am clear, guys, and I'm not rushing through the moves. I hope you're understanding. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. So king f7, she's trying to do the same thing. And now I played g4. So usually in material imbalances, and especially when you're on the side where you have material disadvantage, then you should try to exchange as many pawns as possible. So that is why Vaibhav, what exactly? So g4, so that I can exchange pawns. I remember once I had a position where I had two bishops and my opponent had a rook and a pawn, but obviously two bishops are better because they control more squares. And okay, I'll just quickly go through Vaibhav's move. Think you mean here? bishop into f5. Alright, but he doesn't have to play rook d5. He can play something like this, and then king moves, and then play rook a1. The point is that this pawn is not in the same color as my own bishop, so that is the main problem. So I can't protect this with my bishop. And now even if I attack, then she'll just take, and I cannot capture e6. So yes, rook d5 is wrong, but rook d1 and rook a1. The point is to capture the a5 pawn, and it is possible only if I move the bishop. Right now, she doesn't have this move, because I'll capture on e6 before she captures on e5. Is it okay, Vaibhav? But yes, you're right. It's great that you spotted this move. So guys, here this is the problem. And so you just give this check and go back behind the pawn and capture it. Alright. Okay, great. Thanks, Vaibhav. So she played king f7 and now g4. So exchange as many pawns as possible, because if you forget about the pawns, like just imagine there are no pawns on the board, then bishop versus rook is a draw. Knight versus rook is also a draw, but there are a few positions in which it's not. Like if you just made a knight, like if you've promoted to a knight on the h file, or maybe I can show you some positions later on. So that is not really a draw, because knight is again a short range piece. It can be close to the king, but there is one famous quote that knight cannot lose tempo, but the bishops can. So that is the difference between knight and a bishop. Usually in pawnless endings. So g4 she took and I took, king e7, king e3, and now she was slightly under pressure. I could feel that. But now if you see, I won't let her have this square. So bishop b7, king c7, and then I go bishop e4. So she can't really come here because this pawn is really strong. So she has to keep the king near these two pawns, and she has to protect this pawn with the rook. I'm not letting her attack. So if she plays rook d1, then I can quickly play this move. And if she goes here, takes, and it is going to end in a draw. And even if she protects, then this pawn is really strong. So I'm going to play with this pawn suddenly. Alright. So she played king c7, bishop e4, and now she played king d7. So again, if I had the knight here, then I couldn't lose a tempo, but with the bishop it is really easy. And again, we have to keep exchanging. g5, so just exchanging the pawns very quickly. Takes, and now if I get the pawn here on g6, the bishop protects it, and the rook will be slightly passive because it has to prevent against the threat of promotion here. It has to protect this pawn, and also the king has to stay nearby in the square. So basically a square right now is this. This is the square for the pawn. 1 second, I'll remove the arrows. So if the king is inside it, it can prevent it. King e6, and I played g6. So now I have a draw for sure, because even if she takes this pawn, for example king f6, and here even if she captures, takes, just a moment, I'll show you. She can probably play this, but the problem is that it's a pawn, so it will end in a draw regardless of the material. Even if I win this pawn, it's going to be a draw like this. Okay, cool. So king g7 was what she played, And now you can see I have attacked this pawn already. So again the rook is tied up. And I just have to play with the king now, a few moves. So the game ended in a draw very quickly. And now a6. So same pattern. First I played g6 there, and now I have to play a6. So that I'll have the pawn protected, and always there will be a threat of a7 and a8. Okay, so this looks slightly risky because the bishop on b7 is way too far away from the king. But the thing is, now this is the important diagonal. So I have to make sure that my king stays on these two squares to not get mated. Because there is never going to be king e4 or king f3 to push me down. So the bishop on b7 is controlling these two important squares, and if I have the king here, she doesn't have king e4. So I can escape. King e2 here, king f3, see, like that. Vaibhav, yes, I'll make that. I think I'm going to do that in the masterclass, most probably. But yeah, I can make one for you, like for the YouTube one. King e3, rook a3, and we agreed for a draw. So this was one of my games. Sorry guys. And now in this game you saw, right, how to play with the bishop and how to activate the pieces. Just a moment. Sorry guys. Let's see the next game. Okay, so this is one game I played against an IM, Florian Schwabenedar. And I was white here, and we had a similar opening, but and usually in Sicilian you will see a lot of positional sacrifices. Maybe I'll cover that in positional sacrifices in the coming lecture. I think on 1st or 3rd of September there is one class on YouTube about sacrifices, so I'll cover how to play material imbalances in that too. So it will be like a part 1, part 2. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I have drawn against her once. Yeah. Bimba, my rating is 2243. Okay, in the previous game my rating was, I think, 2100 something, and Tanya is an international master, so her rating is close to 2400. So, and again, even in this game I'm playing against an IM. So we'll see the game. Same opening pretty much. So there are a few openings in which there are sacrifices which are very typical. Like in Sicilian you sacrifice on c3 with rook c8 and rook into c3, or in French you capture rook into f3. So like f6 break is taken place, and f6, e into f6, knight f6, and then knight goes to h5, and then you capture rook into f3. So you capture the knight on f3 for compensation, because the pawns are doubled. So double pawns are slightly weak usually, and hello Bhagwati, so the pawns are weak and you have enough compensation. So I'll cover that in the positional sacrifices. Also there are games where, you know, one knight is so strong that there is no entry for the rook. And there is one famous puzzle where like there's almost equal material. I think just 2 pawns for the rook, but the rook has no entry, so I can cover that too. So nf3, here I just played theory. So queen e7 is something different, and I wasn't aware of this move. I thought it's slightly incorrect, and also my opponent hadn't played a6, so I thought bishop f4 and knight b5 could be one move. And even rook e8 is not played, so bishop f8 in order to guard this is not possible. Bishop f4, queen e7, knight d2. Same plan, knight c4 and knight b5 also. Knight h5, and I just played this. So I ruined my pawn structure, but if you take a deep look at the position, I got this square, and after e3 I'll get this square also. So it is a good exchange for me, and if I manage to play something like knight e4, I'll win the d6 pawn. She played knight f6 in order to prevent that. I played queen d3 because I wanted to play this move and connect my rooks. So I've developed everything and I just want to play active. b6. So b6 is basically to play something like bishop a6. But I think b6 was slightly inaccurate. a6 would have been better. Knight b5, rook d8, and I played a4. So now the weakness is set. This weakness is set, and I just have to attack it. Because she cannot play the a6 move, knight into b6 is there. Rook b8, and I played queen e3, so I want to exchange. Yes, exactly. The king, right now I have a bishop here as a shield, so it is fine to have this sort of pawn structure with the bishop here. If there was no bishop here, then it is a huge problem. But this bishop guards many squares, so the king is safe right now, and also she doesn't have many pieces. So that is the reason it is okay to have such a pawn structure. Also, this pawn is assisting in controlling the central e5 square. So I am not weakening this f4 and e4 in order to control the square. I got it just like that with the g pawn. And it is always a good idea to capture towards the center. So g pawn goes to f file. So it's coming close to the center. So it is not really that bad. But yes, when you've castled here, there can be some attacking prospects for black. But right now there aren't any. Queen e3, quickly exchanging the queens so that there is no attack. And now if you see again, I captured towards the center. So I have this pawn mass in the center which is controlling a lot of squares. And even though these pawns are doubled, I'm going to win one pawn, so I can sacrifice a pawn here, most probably. She played a6, and now I could have played this interesting move, knight a7, in order to play knight c6, because c6 is one square you want your knight to be. Okay, so here there are two ways of capturing. One can be with the knight and one can be with the pawn. So what I thought was, if I capture here, then I am not keeping an eye on this pawn and she can just play this, and this knight will have to move away. So I am keeping the tension. Knight on c4 is doing a good job. I already played like 1, 2 and 3 moves to get this knight to c4. So I think it should stay on c4. And also if I have f into e3, rook is becoming slightly active, and I can play this. I can play this without weakening this square, because I'll have e3. That is the advantage of double pawns. Like if you push one pawn, the other pawn can take control of the squares. For example, if I push this pawn, g4 will be really weak because it can no longer be controlled by any other pawn. But same, if I push this normally, like with the e2 pawn I push, then there won't be anything to control this square. But since I've captured here and I have a double pawn, even if I push, I can have this e3 move and control this square. So that is one small intricacy, but it is really important. So that's why I captured with the pawn and not with the knight, because knight has moved a lot. And also I improved my pawn structure a bit. So I captured d6, bishop g4, and I played e4. So can you tell me what can you tell me what the move should be here? There were 3 moves that were coming to my mind. Can you just randomly tell me what should be played by white? Okay, I'll just tell you. I played rook f2, but e5 was pretty interesting too. So just sacrificing here, but he can play this. Hello Arnav. Yeah, rook e1 could be one move. Yeah, Bimba, I was thinking about e5. It looked really interesting to me, and I thought giving up an exchange would be really interesting. The problem is that I don't know why I didn't play, but I just didn't like it. And then I think this should have been played e5 move. This was really interesting. Rook f e1 can be played, but he has 2 bishops now. So even though I have the center and this bishop is really going to be active very soon, I thought better to have like safe play. And right now I'm already like I've captured this pawn, so better to have that. Like, and I played rook f2. He captured, I captured, and now he played knight g4. And now can you tell me what the move should be? So finally I had the guts to play e5. Initially I wasn't so sure. I'll just get water, guys. Just give me a moment. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, guys. So I played e5 here, and my opponent was slightly surprised because he was expecting me to save this rook by something like rook d2. So since initially I had saved the rook, and he thought probably I'll save it again, but now it was psychologically a little disturbing for him because I played e5, and then it was slightly surprising because previously I contradicted myself slightly. e5, we have to attack one defense. No, you cannot capture this, even though if you have 2 attacks, because even I have 2 defense. So, but yeah, knight into f2, king into f2. So he just captured and he played g5. So can you tell me what should be the move here? Yes, Vaibhav, I like to sacrifice a lot. Like, I generally have a tendency to sacrifice a lot of pieces. You like to attack. Yeah. Can you tell me what the move should be here? So just compare the pieces. The bishop versus this bishop. This bishop is locked for now. King versus king. Right now king safety is not that important because my opponent doesn't have an open file for the rooks. The position is completely closed. There is no open file, so it is okay for me to play this f5. Alright, f5. The problem is that he can play b5 and takes, and I'll have to move the knight and I'll lose e5 pawn. So that is one small issue. I can play this, but then again this move, so I didn't want that. Also, I think this is possible. Bishop d4 check, the king moves somewhere, and rook e8. So that way you're winning a pawn. And so I decided it's better to march with the king, and I played king e3 here. So I'm supporting this with the king, just making sure I have a strong center and my king is really active, because this is going to near the end game very soon, and if the king is in the center, it can assist the pawns. So this pawn is going to be promoted and not this pawn, so I need the king to enter via e4, d5, so I can move like this and enter. So I captured, so I played king e3. He didn't capture on f4 and played rook e8. And now I played rook e1. So again, I'm just protecting the e5 pawn indirectly. b5 takes, and now he has an open file. But the problem is there's nothing happening here, and the main activity is going to be in the center, and I already have all my pieces in the center. I played knight d6, takes, and now he played rook e7. So can you tell me what the move should be? This is a wrong move. Rook e7 is a blunder, sort of. I'm still an exchange down. If you see, I still just have a knight for the rook, because this is this, this is this, this is this, and this is this. So pawns are equal. So 3 points versus 5 points. But the activity is so strong. Yeah, Vaibhav, you're right. But right now it is possible. Otherwise, if you're playing the middle game, then it is slightly bad to get the king out. If the queens are off the board, then you can roam around with the king, like in most cases. But still, you should be aware. Yes, guys, you all are right. Knight f5. So now suddenly my knight was stuck here for a very long time, but now it has come to this really strong square, and now it even attacks this. So yeah, you're right, knight fork with knight f5. Yes, Jyoti, you're right. I think you meant knight f5. Rook a7. So he is trying to get the rook to a4 and attack my king in a way, but it's going to be difficult. I just played d6, so this pawn just moves forward, and whenever possible I'll just play this move attacking here and maybe move forward with the king as well. So let's see what happens in the game. She played king f8, and now I played bishop e4. So I just guarded against any checks, and now can you spot the threat? There is one threat that is there. Yes, Bhagwati, you are absolutely right. So rook g1 is the plan, and suddenly I have threats of mate. So knight e7 and rook g8 will be a lot of problem. Okay, when bishop f6, here bishop f6, I can play something like d6, or let me see if there is anything more in this position. I think I'll just take here or play this move. And that's really interesting. Can I play this move? Okay, rook e3 is really interesting. I like rook e3. Is there a video lag, guys? No, I'll get the rook to g3 check so that there is no pin here, and then I can capture. So right now, even if you move the rook, then I play rook g3 and then capture here. Or right now the rook is supported, so I'm threatening this as well as this. So a lot of threats for black here. So rook e3 just saving the rook so that everything is hanging. Maybe bishop f6, you can play rook e3. Okay, okay, I think that was for the lag, the no. Okay, great. And here, this can be possible. It is very much possible. I don't want to play opposite colored ending because it can end in a draw. Right now it's slightly difficult because I have two strong pawns, but still, why risk it, right? So that's the reason I don't want to enter opposite colored bishops, and I just play rook e3. Hello Sanjay sir. My opponent played rook a7, and I played d6, king f8, and I played bishop e4. So this is the threat now, rook g1, and even something like h4, h5, and do something here because she doesn't have access to g8 square. Rook e8, and now I just took because I calculated that if I play something like this, then she has some tricks with he has some tricks with rook a4 and h6, so I didn't want that. I just simply exchanged this and rook g1. So these two pawns are going to talk for themselves. The king is going to march towards f6 or h6, depends. The bishop will be great on d5 or c6, and it is easier for white to play here than black, even though I have less material. King h8, and now I played bishop c6. So right now from knight versus rook, I have bishop versus rook, so I'm definitely slightly better because with the pawns I think bishop is more better to have. Okay Bhagwati, rook b8, and now I played d7. I actually was pretty hasty when I played this move, and I thought maybe I could have played something like king f5 first, but d7 seems to be correct because it is working. So if you play something like this, I have this very weird bishop b7 move. So and I go here, next move, cutting off any support of d8 square. So even if you take, I have queens. So that's the reason rook a6 is not possible. My opponent played b4, I played b3 just to prevent any passer from his side, and he played rook d8. So again for this move, same, because rook d6 is not possible. This pawn is guarding. Rook d8, king f5, and now she could have played something like this. I think he should have, like, this would have been definitely better than what happened in the game. But you will see, and you can compare the activity between the kings. The king on h8 is almost, it doesn't have a square. So my king is pretty active, and it can go to f6 and capture this pawn, or my rook can go here and capture this pawn. h6, and now I played e6. So now there is no way of capturing on d7. Takes, and now rook a6. So can you tell me what the move should be here? what should be played. Ariman, the rook endgame is not really draw because the king is more active. So maybe after the game ends we can analyze that if you want me to. And it's already 11, but I think we'll just extend by 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. Yes, Bhagwati, king e7 is one move, but there is one move which is more suffocating for black, very suffocating. Okay, king e7 is one move, but I played king d6 because it is very difficult to defend against this, because now I am not giving up this bishop, I am threatening this, and also after king c7, bishop d5, and I have some threats here. Yeah, Ujjan, just keeping the tension. Jyoti, king f7 is not possible because c6 is hanging, and even though you will win back the rook, but it's slightly difficult if this goes in the endgame. So that's why I played king d6, she played rook b6, and now I played rook e1. So that was another idea with king d6 instead of king e7. Yes, it definitely wins, king e7 is winning, but I had a different idea because I wanted to play rook e8. So even if I play here, the problem is I'll have to move the bishop and then he can pin here. So I didn't want any play from his side. I just wanted to keep the rooks restricted. But king e7 is winning, you're right. Rook b6, rook e1, king g7, rook e8, rook bb8, and now I played king c7. Takes, and c4, this move, b3, and now can you spot the correct move here? Okay, I'll just tell many possible moves, but bishop e4 is the easiest, and then you just block this pawn. Bhagwati, this is Chess Base. It's not really free to download, you will have to purchase it. So this was my game against an IM, Shobender Florian, and it was really interesting because firstly I had just a knight versus rook, the pawns were equal, and I think till here the pawns were equal. Yeah, so here also bishop versus rook is there, but the important thing is activity. So in any game, activity is more important, and you should try to keep all your pieces really active and make sure that you don't go too passive. Even if you collect like a piece but you are too passive, you might lose the game. So I'll continue tomorrow, guys, and I think I have a lecture at 5 tomorrow on YouTube. And guys, my next masterclass in September is not scheduled yet, but it will be about improving pieces and more related to positional terms. So developing pieces, improving them, and prophylaxis, so all those things. So do subscribe, guys, if you haven't already, and you can use my code Parnali16 till 5th of September. The code is the offer is valid, and you can get the first month at just ₹99. Okay, glitch. I think you mean here. Rook b6, this move. I think she could have played rook b8. That's the reason. That's the only reason. And for this, she could have played something like this, maybe. It was possible to play this. It wasn't wrong. Thank you, Sahil. Okay, good luck, guys. Take care. See you tomorrow.